Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome to Shifting Lanes. My name is Hanson. Thanks for tuning into the video. And for this one, you find me sitting in the 2021 Mazda CX-9 Signature all-wheel drive. And I want to share with you my likes and dislikes about this midsize SUV from Mazda so that you have a better idea before you buy. And make sure you stick around all the way till the end to hear my overall recommendations. And if you haven't already, please take this time to hit that subscribe button and also that notification bell so that you can be notified anytime we make a new video. Let's get on with the review. Now, what's new for 2021 Mazda CX-9 is the redesigned infotainment system and larger screen. There's also a new special edition called the Carbon Edition, and in the interior, there's a new seat pattern that makes the CX-9 look much fancier. But if you're just now looking at the Mazda CX-9, let me give you a breakdown of what this midsize SUV is all about. The Mazda CX-9 is Mazda's largest vehicle. This is a three-row midsize SUV and competes with other three-row midsize SUVs like the Hyundai Palisade, Kia Telluride, and Toyota Highlander, all of which I've reviewed before, so make sure you check out the links down below. Now, the CX-9's design has been around since 2016, but it doesn't look quite outdated yet. It still looks modern and has some subtle elements to give it a more luxurious feel. The front bumper has a large commanding grille, and you can tell this is the top of the line signature model CX-9 because it has the unique titanium metallic grille insert. Other models have a simpler horizontal bar design, but they all still look pretty classy. Whichever trim you go with, you'll find this large chrome piece that highlights the grille and flows into the headlights. And right in the center, you'll find this big badge sitting behind a glassy cover. You'll find badges like this in a lot of modern cars now because there's sensors behind it. And this CX-9 has that radar-based adaptive cruise control with stop and go. The headlights on this SUV are also high-tech. They're LEDs, and it can actually pivot depending on your steering angle. This is their adaptive front lighting system, so it's pretty handy to have when you're driving around corners. Moving around to the side, the CX-9 has a straightforward and smooth flowing design. The windows are bordered with a chrome trim finish. The signature model has a tasteful looking silver finish 20-inch wheels, and there's not too much black cladding around the wheels and surrounding the bottom of the car. And finally, finishing out back, you'll find dual exhausts, LED taillights, and more chrome trim. As for the rear hatch, it has a sharper angle, which gives it a more fast-looking shape, but it will eat into the available cargo space. More on that later on. But in general, the CX-9 is one good-looking midsize SUV that doesn't look too clunky. And moving inside, it doesn't look too bad in here either. There may be a little bit too much chrome for my tastes, but there's other design elements that gives it that luxurious feel, just like the outside. For example, there's a combination of premium looking and feeling pieces like the rosewood inlays on the transmission tunnel and also on the door cards. The interior of this CX-9 is called Deep Chestnut, and this would totally be my choice. New for 2021 is this quilted pattern on the seats and the piping, and you'll find this on the first and second row seats. And this design, along with the Nappa leather materials, gives the CX-9 an expensive look and feel. Also new for 2021 is this new infotainment screen and snappier user interface. This is a 10.25-inch widescreen unit, a fairly average size for modern vehicles, and it's a good size display whether you're using the native infotainment system or when you're plugging in Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. The signature model also comes with a 360-degree camera view, and that shows up very clearly on the screen. There's a split view with an overhead view on 1/3 of the screen, and the remaining portion you can toggle between various views. Extremely useful in parking situations, and it makes parking this relatively big vehicle a breeze. And this screen is not a touchscreen, which isn't a big deal for me, and controlling it is done via this rotary dial, and I like where this is placed. It's very comfortable to use. I also like that there's a bunch of shortcut buttons around it. Now, going through the menu system can be somewhat of a laborious process because you have to toggle through a couple of different menu systems, but they all make good sense. Now, to make it a little bit easier, there's a star button here. That's your favorites list. So basically, it's just a simple list that combines your favorite destinations, your favorite radio stations, and also your favorite contacts. So I have no issues with this infotainment system at all, but if you're old school and you like to tune your radio stations via a dial, there is no such dial in this car. There's only a volume dial. So if you want to tune between different stations, you'd have to go into entertainment, you press down on the rotary dial, and then you go to tuner controls. And here you could change between your music stations just like the old days. Looking ahead, you'll find the standard Mazda 3-gauge cluster design with the middle gauge being digital. The CX-9 also comes with traffic sign recognition, so sometimes stop signs and speed limit information would show up on the screen. There's also a heads-up display on the signature model, so critical information like your speed, the road signs, and if you have anyone in your blind spot, that information is going to show up there as well. As for storage solutions in the CX-9, there's a good amount in here. There's a place to hold your phone up here, and this also happens to be a wireless charger. And I also like how the armrest is split into two, so if your passenger is napping, you could still get access. And there's also some storage on the door pockets, and I like the placement of these cup holders because it shouldn't affect with shifting. Now moving to the second row, you'll find a similar layout. This signature CX-9 means you'll get a pair of captain's chairs and the center console. You can get a normal bench in other trims, or you can opt for the captain's chairs with a pass-through. Obviously, you won't be able to access the third row as easily with the center console in the way, but it gives the second row a more executive feel. There's also heated seats back here and a sunshade just to give you more shelter. As for legroom, there's plenty to be had in the second row at almost 40 inches. It's not the same story for the third row, as it's fairly tight back here. This is fairly common for 3-row midsize SUVs, but that's okay because you should only have kids or very small adults sit back here. Additionally, there's no vents, so it's not as pleasant of a place for a long road trip, but there are USB plugs back here in case people need to charge up. As for cargo capacity, with all 3 rows in the upright position, there's limited space at 14.4 cubic feet. With the third rows folded down, that grows to 38.2 cubic feet, and with the second and third rows folded, you can get 71.2 cubic feet of space. Although if you're transporting some large heavy things, I'd be afraid of scratching up the second row center console, so make sure you cover it up with some cloth before putting something on there. Now, what is it like to drive the Mazda CX-9? This SUV is surprisingly responsive. The ride quality is pretty good considering how firm the suspension is compared to other brands. Driving over harsh bumps, the CX-9 feels confident, and I don't hear any sort of weird rattles or vibrations when going down the road or hearing loud music. This CX-9 is very well put together. Handling is also nice for such a big vehicle. I like the steering feel a lot, and there doesn't seem to be too much float when you're going on back roads like this one. It certainly isn't a sports car, but if you want a nice handling midsize SUV, this is a pretty good choice. There's also an all-wheel drive system in this Mazda CX-9. It's called the i-activ all-wheel drive. It's a front-wheel drive based all-wheel drive system, so most of the time only the front wheels are being driven, but when the front wheels sense a slip, there's an electronic coupling right by the rear axle, and some torque will be sent to the rear wheels when that happens. And all of that happens very seamlessly and automatically, so the driver doesn't have to worry about it. Performance-wise, this is powered by a 2.5-liter turbo, making 250 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque. That's the same engine that you'll find in the Mazda 3 hatchback turbo, which I've reviewed before, and if you want to see that review, please click the link up here. And that's a delightful engine for that small car, but it's just so-so for this big CX-9. It will get you to where you need to go and at a good pace, but you won't win any races with it if you like to race your 3-row midsize SUVs, considering that there's other SUVs out there with 400 horsepower like the Ford Explorer ST. But overall, the Mazda CX-9 is awesome. This is a good 3-row midsize SUV. The exterior design is nice and more subdued than other midsize SUVs. The interior is also nicely equipped with good materials, good tech, and decent ergonomics. And finally, the driving experience is pretty enjoyable. Pricing wise, the CX-9 Signature all-wheel drive should be around the $50,000 mark, which means that there's a lot of 3-row midsize SUVs to choose from. The top tier Palisade and top tier Telluride is in this price range. A nicely equipped Volkswagen Atlas is also in this range. And the redesigned luxury Acura MDX SUV is another good one if this is your budget. Bottom line is this: you should really test drive all of these SUVs because they're all made very well. It's really going to just come down to your personal preferences and also your personal style. Or if there's any good deals to be had, because let's be honest, car prices are all over the place right now, and I'm not really sure when it's going to stabilize again. So while everyone is so busy trying to chase after the Hyundai Palisade or the Kia Telluride, there might actually be some very good deals for these Mazda CX-9s. Well, there you have it. That's my review of the 2021 Mazda CX-9 Signature All-Wheel Drive. I want to thank you so much for watching all the way till the end. If you've learned something, please consider hitting that like button. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe and also notification bell so that you can be notified anytime we make a new video. I'll wrap it up right there. My name's Hanson. This is the Mazda CX-9. I will see you next time.